Hi everyone, Bonsai Northwest exhibition in Melbourne is on again this year on the 29th and 30th of April 2023. Hope to see you all there. Lots of trees on display, heaps of trees on for sale, and look forward to seeing you there. Thanks. G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel, Bonsai Works. Today I've got this little Shimpaku juniper I've been working on. Now it's got a lot of interesting features on this tree. It's got a nice first semi-cascade branch, but it's got one issue. I mean, I know you see this nice apex, looks quite nice proportions, but for me, this tree is a little too tall. This is a little too high and too straight for my liking. With this nice cascade branch, it really should be much shorter, about this height it should be sitting in around. So that's my biggest issue with this tree. It's got everything else working for it. It's coming along really well. It's quite an old tree, quite nice Nabari, quite nice twisted up gins and shari and a bit of everything on there. So it's got a bit of everything, except it's a little bit tall. Now, as you've seen, I've actually wired the tree pretty much all out here. I've actually wired all of the side and back branches, which I'll have to tweak. And I've wired most of this up here. Now, the reason I've wired it already, but I haven't placed it, is I want to show you how to guy wire the trunk. Now, sometimes you can use just heavy gauge wire and bend things, but if I put a very heavy gauge wire on this tree, it will look quite obtrusive and really take your eye away from the quality of the tree. The thickness, I mean, I would have to use almost half the thickness of the trunk to get that bent and bend it downwards as much as I want. But by using a guy wire, it's actually very simple. A nice thin piece of copper wire. You probably can't even see it after I'm finished because it'll be covered with all the foliage. And then once we guy wire it, then we can just set the branching. So the reason I actually wire the tree before I put the guy wire is once you put the guy wire on, it's almost impossible to wire around different branches and so on with the guy wire there. You have to try and thread it through. It's really difficult to do. So I always leave my guy wiring to the end. I have an image of what the tree needs to be in my mind, where it needs to sit, but I'll wire all the main branches. I won't position them, but I'll wire them at the end. So let's go through the process of showing you how I guy wire this tree. All right, so what you'll need for this process is the way I do it. I have some thin gauge wire, quite thin. I use copper in this instance just because it holds better, but you can use aluminium as well, but no big deal. But I use about an 18-19 gauge copper, but you can use 2 mil or 1.5 mil aluminium, can do the same job. Now, I also use this. This protects, this is just tubing. You can water pump tubing or something like a fish tanks. You can find it in any hardware store in your area, whatever you've got there. You'll be able to find this kind of tubing. You can see I've used quite a bit. I'm running to my last lot, but nice little tubing with that helps us protect the branches and trunk when we do this. So the method is I want to guy wire this apex. Now I do have some nice thickish, reasonably thick wire on this, copper in this instance, but there's a little bit of a gap I've left just inside between the trunk and the wire. So there's a little bit of a gap all along there. Now this is so I can thread some wire in there and be able to tie it down. Now most likely I'll be wiring it down and going into that spot there. And I'll need to find a place on the tree that will enable me to tie it down. Sometimes I can use the roots, but the roots are to tie down. I would have to put a wire there to there, and this will go this way, which is not what I want to do. So I'm most likely going to anchor it onto this really heavy branch here. So that's the plan, having an anchoring around there. Now I'll get some tubing. This is the tubing. So I'll cut off a piece that will kind of fit around. If you want to measure, you can put it there and put it around there. It needs to fit around there, so about to that much. I'll cut a piece off. So I've got a nice piece cut. So then I get my wire. I kind of roughly work out that I need at least that much. I double it up. So it's a bit of a hook kind of two thing. And then I trim it off. And then I thread it through. Very simple, nothing too hard here, quite easy. Just make sure it's pretty even. Okay, now I've got this set up. This is the kind of thing I've got right now. So I loop that around this branch. Now you can tie it so it doesn't move if you want to, which I'll do in this case because I don't want it to move from that spot. You can just loop it around a little couple of times at the base just to get it looking, just to get it so it doesn't move. So I've got it around there. Now I need to find a spot where I'm going to pull it down from. The higher you go up, the easier it is to pull it down. If you go from here, it'd be a bit harder to do. So because I've wired all the branches, this guy wire will be the last step. It will just be putting it on there and just bending it down. And then I can reposition these branches that I've already wired, which is very important to do. So let's find a little spot where we can put this in. And I think I might be able to go into this last top one I can get into. So I've just threaded it through between the wire and the trunk. So it's just a matter of just getting in there and getting it done. So I've got one through, and the other one will just tie off onto the bit that we need. Maneuver the branches around so you're not getting them in the way. So let's see if we can do this now. So now I've got this little guy wire hooked in, ready to go to just start the process. Now what you need to do is try and get it through and twist the wire so that it holds. So twist it. Twist it. Just so you got some sort of tightness to it, right? So you've got this wire twisted up. Now it's a matter of pushing the tree down and twisting this wire to tighten it. So you can do it in 2 steps. If you've got someone to help you, even better. But if you're on your own, you need to do the following. So usually, if the wire gets too long, I'll just trim the ends off. In this case, it's a little long. So I'll get my gin pliers, just a set of gin pliers that I use for bonsai. And then I'll pull down and I start to twist. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing down with this this hand, pushing down, and I'm tightening, pulling and tightening the wire. Just make sure I don't get these branches in the way, which they are a little bit, but we'll just move them out of the way for now. Pull and tighten. And sometimes it gets too long that my gin pliers can't reach, so I trim off the excess and I keep going. Keep going. So we're slowly bringing it down. You can already see it's coming down quite a bit. So we just keep going through that process. I might do it a bit quicker now. Just want to show you that step. So from about up there, now it's actually reduced quite a bit down into here. It's starting to look better. I'm happier with how far it's gone down. Might want to, I think I might want to, no, it's about where I want it. I don't think I want to go too much more than that. But you can see now the tree's compacted much more and it looks more interesting. It doesn't have that really high trunk, but now we're going to actually wire all these and position them into the place. Similar to what I've always done is creating foliage pads, wiring them out into a fan and positioning them. Because I've wired most of these, it's going to be pretty easy to just now position them, position the branches. It's very simply like that. Bring everything down into position. Might need a few more bits of wire here and there, but we'll get all through that. Just take a little bit of that off. And now it's just positioning everything, repositioning everything into the places you want them to be. The key was, I'll come back and show you the final product, but the key was how I used the guy wire. So you probably can't even see the wire. But you can't even see the guy wire, it's almost hidden by the trunk. Now, if I used a really heavy gauge wire, it would be horrible. You'll see it quite obvious. So let me come back and show you the final product. All right, so here's how the final tree ended up. Much more reduced apex, or the top of the tree. And you can see now where it's, on side on, you can see where it's now positioned more forward. The tree looks really good from front on because this branch here comes more forward to you. So you can see how it's more forward. So having this sitting here was quite good. Just a bit of wiring to let it fill out. Just needs time to fill out a little bit more, but very important. You probably just can see it now because there's a little gap for it, but that looks a lot better than having huge gauge wire on your tree. Very simple process. Put a nice bit of wire there, compact it down by twisting and reducing the height, and you get a much more shorter tree, more compact, without having the obtrusiveness of heavy gauge wire. I hope that little tip helps you out. I use it pretty much anywhere and everywhere I can, especially when there's a large branch and you don't want to put heavy gauge wire on. You can also tie it to the roots, underneath the roots, find a little crevice and make a little hole and tie it through, and get it doing it that way. You can put it through and tie it up. This branch I could also guy wire it if I wanted to somewhere. I could bend it down a little bit more without putting heavy gauge wire on. You could even tie it to the bottom of the pot. If I want to pull this down, I could tie it to the bottom of the pot, and that will work as well. So lots of ways to put guy wires on. Just this is probably the cleanest. Put a bit of tubing so it doesn't hurt the trunk, and there you go. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and we'll see you soon.